The coffee machine exploded again. Not in the dramatic, cinematic way, no flames or airlock-sucking decompression, just the quiet betrayal of a sputter, a hiss, and a weak burp of steam before a foul-smelling sludge oozed onto Leon's already questionable uniform. He sighed and jabbed the panel with 2 fingers, hoping violence would suddenly become a valid maintenance technique. "Why," he muttered to the machine, "do you hate freedom?" The console answered with a slow, electronic blink, the kind that said, "I've given up, please do the same." He wiped the mess with a rag that was once white and tossed it onto the pile of other once-white rags that now formed a depressing mosaic of stains, tears, and what might have been interdimensional mold. Leon Vex had been stationed on Outpost 31 Gamma for 4 months, 2 weeks and 3 days. He had counted. His closest companion was a semi-sentient maintenance drone named Kip, who had a defective sarcasm filter and an obsession with quoting Earth reality shows from the 2200s. "You know, statistically, people who talk to themselves in empty rooms live longer," Kip chirped, scooting into the break room on whining thrusters. "Do they?" Leon asked. "No, but it gives you hope, which is cute." Leon tossed a protein cube at the drone, who caught it midair with a mechanical claw, and then promptly dropped it into a compartment labeled emotional support. The station itself was an orbital relic from a war that both sides now pretended hadn't happened. Technically, it served as a monitoring outpost along the old Earth-Glavan neutral corridor, but mostly it existed to collect space dust and make its occupants question their life choices. Leon flipped through the shift logs, finding exactly 0 updates that mattered. No ship traffic, no anomalies, no contact. Silence was supposed to be good, peaceful, but peace, it turned out, could be loud when it echoed through a man's ribs for too many nights in a row. He scratched his jaw, winced at the stubble, and cursed the shaving kit that had malfunctioned last week and now made an angry bee sound whenever he opened the drawer. Another victory for the home team. Then the alarm blared. Red strobes lit the corridor like a low-budget horror flick. Kip spun in place. "Oh no," the drone said with exaggerated cheer. "Something is actually happening." Leon sprinted, or what passed for sprinting in regulation boots, toward the docking bay. The interface panel showed a Glavan Scout-class vessel initiating emergency docking. He blinked. Glavan? That was unusual. They didn't use this corridor anymore. At least, not officially. The ship latched onto the station's magnetic ring with an audible thunk. Systems flickered. Atmosphere equalized. He waited by the access door, thumb hovering over the authorization trigger. The door slid open, and there she was. She stepped out like the void itself had given her a gentle push. Tall, lean, and wearing a black flight suit with a sheen that shimmered like oil on water. Her skin had a pale shimmer, not metallic but moonlight soft. Her eyes were silver blue, ringed with faint circuitry lines that pulsed like thoughts trying to escape. Her ears, long and sharp at the top, twitched once. Then she spoke. "Your docking beacon is off by 0. 3 calibration units," she said in flawless, lightly accented Terran, "which explains the ugly magnetic handshake." Leon blinked. "Good evening to you too." She looked him up and down with a slow, analytical glance. "You're human." He raised a hand. "Last time I checked, Leon Vex, welcome to nowhere." "Ilari." She stepped past him, uninvited. "I require diagnostics and minor fuel regeneration. I'll depart within your cycle's sunrise." He followed her into the corridor. "And you always break into people's houses for coffee and small talk." "I don't drink coffee," she said. "It smells like despair." "Kip Wordby told you." Ilari paused at the drone. Her gaze narrowed. "Why is that device quoting obsolete Terran media?" Leon shrugged. He got bored, we all did. The lights flickered overhead as her ship interfaced with the station's core. She didn't flinch. He liked that. Most visitors didn't know what to do when the wiring moaned. He led her to the main lounge, a generous term for a room with 2 chairs, a broken game table, and a window smeared with condensation and space grime. She chose the floor, cross-legged like a meditating statue. "So," he said, leaning against the table, "you fleeing something or just lost?" "I don't get lost," she replied. "I was tired." He raised an eyebrow. "Tired enough to crash a Glavan stealth ship into a Terran outpost." She glanced at him, and for a second the edge of her mouth twitched, something between a smirk and an involuntary reaction to stupidity. "The war is over," she said. "So they tell me." They sat in silence, the kind that wasn't entirely uncomfortable. Outside the window, a comet passed, bright and slow-moving, trailing light through the black. "I once ejected a Glavan colonel into a sun for calling me emotional," Ilari said suddenly. Leon barked a laugh. "Did it help?" "He stopped calling me things." She looked at him again. Her expression had softened. Her ears had twitched twice now. That had to mean something. He walked over to the console and activated his antique record player. A crackle, then a slow jazz tune filled the air, lazy and warm. "Human music," she observed. "It's a cultural defense mechanism," he replied. "We use it to seduce our enemies." She tilted her head, ears perking. "Is that what this is?" He grinned. "Only if it's working." They sat there listening. Her eyes wandered across the walls, the flickering panels, the map of constellations he'd stuck up with magnetic tape. "Just one night," she said quietly, almost to herself. He didn't answer. Not yet. Leon had 3 rules about guests. 1. Don't mess with the gravity controls. 2. Don't touch his record player. And 3. Actually, he only had 2 rules. But if he had a third, it would have involved not flirting with alien warriors who could probably rewrite your DNA while reciting poetry. Ilari broke the first rule almost immediately. "You do know this isn't a trampoline, right?" Leon asked, arms crossed as he floated sideways past her. "It was malfunctioning," she replied, twisting lazily in the air. "I stabilized the flux relay and recalibrated the artificial graviton field. Now we have 0G in the observation dome. You're welcome." "You call that stabilizing?" he said as a coffee mug gently floated by between them, turning end over end like a slow-motion satellite. "I call it recreational physics." Kip zipped through the dome with a panicked buzz, bumping into the ceiling and spinning like a doomed ceiling fan. She weaponized the gravity again. The drone wailed. "This is why I like the vacuum of space better, fewer mood swings." "Is he always like this?" Ilari asked. "Only when he's not sleeping or awake." They drifted across the dome, which now resembled a snow globe of junk and regrets. The stars outside the dome shimmered like glass dust on velvet. Clusters of forgotten satellites blinked in slow orbits around distant planets. Ilari reached out to touch a shard of light from a nearby star. "This station is obsolete," she said. "Thank you for the tour review." She gave him a sidelong glance. "And yet it persists, like an old song nobody remembers how to sing." Leon watched her float closer to the central beam, her fingers brushing against the humming metal. "You're poetic when you're violating gravity laws. I'm poetic when I'm pretending not to be tired." He caught a loose spoon as it sailed past his head. "Tired from what?" Ilari didn't answer. Not right away. She flipped gently through the air until she landed in a practiced roll, using the edge of a panel to stabilize herself. She hovered upside down, her ears twitching once. "My ship's fuel cell needed recalibration," she said finally. "I could have done it in a dozen places, but I came here." Leon pulled himself down to the floor and activated the magnetic stabilizers. A gentle hum filled the dome, and slowly, reluctantly, gravity returned. Everything dropped with the weight of decisions. He caught her eye. "So, why here?" She landed silently. "Because this station has bad coffee, bad music, and one human who doesn't shoot first. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all year." They wandered toward the galley, where he offered her a protein square with the grace of someone presenting a priceless artifact. "It's got a hint of blue flavor," he said. "What does blue taste like?" "Regret and freeze-dried fruit." She sniffed it, took a small bite, and did not visibly perish. Progress. You know, Leon said, there used to be 8 of us on this station. What happened to the other 7? He tapped his chest. Still here. Ilari frowned. He grinned. Bad joke. They were reassigned or promoted or demoted or abducted by marketing teams, not sure which. She chewed slowly, as though trying to decode whether the joke or the food was more dangerous. He sat down across from her, folding his arms on the table. You ever get tired of pretending you don't miss people? She didn't flinch, but her fingers froze for half a second. Then she set the rest of the protein bar down, untouched. We don't miss, she said. We remember. Missing is a human thing. You keep it like a wound. Well, we're sentimental meatbags. It's what we do. She looked down at her wrist, where a slim band blinked with quiet energy. In Glavan culture, emotions are classified into 5 streams. We channel them as data patterns. Anything else gets in the way. Leon rested his chin on his hand. And what happens when it doesn't work, when you feel something anyway? She met his gaze. Then you land on a Terran station and mess with the gravity. They were silent for a while, but it wasn't awkward. It was the silence of 2 people orbiting the edge of something neither wanted to name. Outside the window, a nearby gas giant ignited briefly with a flash of lightning through its upper layers. Nice, Leon said. The universe is doing mood lighting for us. Don't get ideas, Ilari warned. Too late. I've got at least 3. He stood and reached for a pair of old magnetic boots, offering one to her. She raised an eyebrow. Walk the hull, he asked. Best view in the sector. Also, if you fall off, I'll have a great story for my disciplinary report. She hesitated, then smirked barely. If I fall off, I'm taking you with me. That's the spirit. They stepped into the airlock, sealing the chamber with a hiss. He pressed the manual override, something he rarely did, and the doors opened with a groan like the galaxy clearing its throat. Outside, the hull stretched in shadowed silver, the stars above them alive with color and soundless fire. The magnetic boots clicked as they walked, shoulder to shoulder, along a curve of forgotten metal and layered paint. Do you believe in destiny? She asked suddenly. I believe in bad timing. Close enough. She didn't answer, but she didn't pull away either. They reached the far edge of the station, where the solar panels flickered weakly with captured light. There they stood still. This station, she said, was once a weapon relay. He nodded. Before it became a backwater junk heap. I was trained to destroy places like this. And I was trained to hate people like you. The stars didn't blink. The universe kept spinning. He looked at her. She looked back. No weapons tonight, he asked. Just one night, she said. He almost smiled, almost. That's what they always say. And yet, she whispered, they never mean it. He didn't have a reply for that. So they stood there. If it were an espresso machine, I wouldn't be crawling through a plasma vent, Ilari muttered. Leon sipped again. Can't rule it out. That thing's got more buttons than my first date with a customs officer. She slid out from under the ship, wiping her hands on a cloth that had definitely once been a flag. Her silver eyes narrowed at him. Is everything in Terran culture an awkward metaphor? No, some of it's interpretive dance. But that's reserved for court-martials and birthdays. Kip floated into the hangar, dragging behind him a cable twice his length. I found the fusion coil. Also found a raccoon, or maybe a wormhole. Either way, something bit me. You don't have skin, Leon said. I have feelings. Ilari snorted quietly. Leon pretended not to notice. She moved to recalibrate the gravimetric manifold, her fingers working with mechanical precision. He watched the way she didn't hesitate, didn't pause to doubt. She was all rhythm and code, the opposite of his everything. So, he said casually, after this, back to the front. She didn't look up. There is no front. That's funny. Still feels like there's a front, just with better PR now. The Glavan hierarchy declared the war resolved. We are ordered to decommission conflict assets. Leon frowned. That's what they call soldiers now, assets. Ilari tightened a bolt harder than necessary. We don't use the word soldier. We say executor of intent. That's disturbingly poetic, and sounds like a job with really bad dental. She paused then, just long enough to let silence say something. He leaned back against a crate and stared at the blinking maintenance light overhead. You ever think maybe we weren't built to go back to normal? I don't believe in normal, she said. Right, you believe in emotionally repressed efficiency and sabotage with style. I do have style, she admitted. They stood there, the drone humming softly and chewing on its own charging cable in the background. Leon set his mug down. You ever consider not going back? Ilari looked up at him, not with suspicion, just curiosity. Back to what? She asked. Whatever command awaits, whatever version of peace they tell you to enforce. I have orders. I had orders too. Then I ignored them and made friends with a toaster who thinks he's a reality show finalist. Kip buzzed. Season 3, Episode 8, I was robbed. Leon nodded toward the open hangar door. Beyond it, space stretched endlessly, quiet, unjudging, full of places that didn't care about uniforms or rank. You could disappear, he said. I hear that's fashionable these days. Her eyes flickered. And go where? He gave a lopsided shrug. Anywhere that doesn't care who won. For a moment he thought she might say something serious. Instead, she stood, wiped her hands again and tossed him a small device. He caught it. It beeped once and projected a tiny hologram, an orbital dance of 2 Glavan ships chasing a Terran cruiser in tight spirals. Training sim? He asked. Poetry, she replied. In our culture, flight patterns are considered a form of emotional expression. Leon blinked. You just handed me a love poem, didn't you? She arched an eyebrow. If I did, it was encrypted. He looked at the hologram again. The spiral formations twisted and spun together, sometimes colliding, sometimes missing each other by fractions of a second. It didn't feel like war. It felt like choreography with stakes. You're weird, he said. You're inefficient, she replied. I take that as a compliment. You shouldn't. He laughed and tossed the projector back. She caught it without looking. The station lights dimmed briefly as the ship's systems synced with the outpost. A gentle hum filled the floor beneath them. Diagnostics complete, Ilari said. My ship is ready. Leon crossed his arms. So that's it. You fix the drive and vanish into the stars. She turned toward the ship's hatch. That was the agreement. Right, just one night. Her hand hesitated at the control panel. Kip zipped up between them. If you two are done slow dancing with your words, I'd like to remind everyone that the station power grid is due to crash in 20 minutes unless someone stops the backup capacitor from dreaming it's a black hole. Ilari sighed. Your drone is malfunctioning. He's always like this. I think it's a feature. She looked back at Leon. For the first time there was something uncertain in her gaze, not fear, not regret. Just the unfamiliar gravity of attachment. Stay for breakfast, he said, trying to make it sound like a joke. We've got more blue flavor. She didn't smile, not exactly, but the corner of her mouth tilted up just enough. I'll consider it, she said, then she stepped onto the ship. The hatch hissed shut. He waited just in case. 5 minutes, 10. He turned to Kip. Think she's coming back? Kip looked at the closed door. If I understood romance, I'd say yes. But I'm running a 43% probability based on spark frequency in her irises. Leon sighed. You don't even have eyes. Neither does love. The engines of the scout ship powered up. Leon turned away, walked toward the lounge, and tried not to wonder why it suddenly felt like something had just gone missing from the air. The worst part about chasing ghosts through space was the paperwork. Leon had rewritten his transfer order 12 different times, each with a slightly more creative excuse. Fuel leak, sensor calibration, cosmic existential crisis. Nobody seemed to care. Which was lucky, because he had absolutely no idea what he was doing. Kip floated beside him in the cramped cockpit of the indecisive Comet, a barely legal freighter Leon had borrowed from a retired merchant who had once tried to sell him dehydrated socks. You know we don't have clearance for Enrix Prime, right? Kip said, blinking a red warning light shaped like a tiny middle finger. It's on the diplomatic no-fly list. Yeah, Leon said, fiddling with the scanner. So's good music and decaf coffee. Doesn't mean people stop using it. I'm just saying, if we get impounded, I'm claiming to be your emotional support droid. You already are. Kip clicked a sound file that resembled a sigh. She's not going to be there. Leon adjusted the nav beacons, watching the stars shift through the viewport. She might. Probability of randomly finding a rogue Glavin pilot across 23 sectors is. I didn't ask for the probability. I asked for the last known broadcast on encrypted channel G27 Alpha. Kip made a sound like a toaster gagging. You're not going to like it. Lay it on me. A screen flickered to life. Static buzzed, then cleared into a fractured video stream. A Glavin ship, flanked by 2 smugglers, hovering above a warehouse dome on Enrix Prime. In the corner of the feed, her profile flashed briefly. Elari, masked and moving with fluid precision, disabling a perimeter field and kicking a black market trader into his own plasma crates. Leon grinned. That's her classic just one night behavior. You have a type. Apparently it's sharp-eared and emotionally unavailable. He plotted the jump. The freighter's engines growled like a sick animal swallowing a battery. Kip winced audibly. We're gonna die. Don't be dramatic. We've got most of an engine. The jump to Enrix Prime was rough. Time stretched. Systems flickered. One of the navigation panels tried to install dating software mid-jump. Leon punched it until it apologized. They dropped out above the city-grid planet in a burst of digital blue. Below, neon sprawled across miles of cracked domes and black glass towers. Enrix Prime was where people went to disappear or sell things that made governments nervous. Leon angled the ship toward the industrial district. Patch into the surveillance net. See if she's still planetside. Kip buzzed, processing. There's a security breach on Sector 9. Explosion near the Black Vault. 2 ships launched, one matching Glavin's stealth pattern. Leon hit the thrusters. By the time they reached the vault zone, the fire was dying. Smoke curled up through the fractured dome. People in scavenged armor ran in all directions, yelling about ghosts, traitors, and anti-grav grenades. One man was still floating upside down, flailing above a fried turret. Leon spotted her ship landing in a back alley, almost invisible but for the shimmer of cooling thrusters. He landed hard, too hard. The freighter let out a mechanical groan that sounded personal. He jumped out before Kip could scold him and sprinted into the alley. Elari was already halfway up a maintenance ladder, scaling toward a rooftop launch pad. He called out before he thought better of it. Hey, you forgot your awkward Earthman. She froze, turned her head slightly, then continued climbing. Leon climbed after her. You blew up a weapons vault. They were selling antimatter disruptors to mercenaries. You could have left a note. Didn't think you'd be looking. They reached the rooftop, breathless. Her ship hummed beside them, cloaked but not invisible. She faced him, arms crossed. You shouldn't be here, she said. I get that a lot. I told you it was one night. You whispered something different. She didn't respond. Her ears twitched once. Leon stepped forward. I've been through 7 systems. I've bribed 2 officials, crashed a minor wedding, and been mugged by a priest bot looking for rare spices. I didn't ask you to come. I came anyway. She shook her head, almost amused. You're reckless. I'm consistent. She looked away toward the stars. You're not part of this. You are. Silence stretched. She opened her mouth, closed it. Then finally, you'll get hurt. I'm already hurt. Ever had station rations for a month straight. That's not what I meant. I know. They stood there, under the starlight and city haze, 2 shadows pretending not to move closer. Kip's voice crackled through Leon's comm. Sorry to interrupt your romantic rooftop drama, but we've got incoming. 3 gliders, armed. Elari turned to her ship. I can take them. Leon touched her arm. Not alone. She didn't pull away. They boarded her ship, barely strapping in before the gliders opened fire. The ship jolted. Leon grabbed the control panel. Tell me this thing has guns. It has style. I need guns, not fashion sense. The ship banked hard, spiraling through the city towers. Ilari's hands danced across the controls. Holographic interface symbols spun and realigned. Gliders followed close behind, launching energy lances that scorched the hull. Leon found the weapon's toggle and hit it without reading the Glavin labels. Two of the gliders exploded in synchronized spirals. Poetry, Ilari said. I'm learning. The last glider peeled off. Silence returned. For a moment, all they could hear was the ship's soft systems hum and their own uneven breathing. Leon looked over at her. Next time, send a postcard. She smirked, no promises. He leaned back in the co-pilot's seat, grinning. So, what now? Ilari didn't answer right away. Her eyes scanned the stars ahead, calculating something invisible. Then she said quietly, we disappear. Leon nodded. Good. I was getting tired of being found. Leon woke up to the smell of ozone, recycled air, and something that might have been eggs if you squinted at it hard enough and ignored all your instincts. He blinked against the soft blue lights of the ship's cabin, stretched, and nearly kicked Kip, who was floating just above his bunk with a whisk attachment spinning lazily. Breakfast is ready, Kip said. Or at least it's warm and won't kill you, probably. Leon groaned, sat up and rubbed his face. What system are we in? Unofficially, between sectors, officially, very, very lost. He pulled on his jacket and stumbled into the cockpit where Ilari sat, one leg tucked under her, staring at a blinking star chart like it owed her money. We're off-grid again, she said, without looking. You say that like it's not my default setting. She adjusted a dial. The transponder ghost worked. Anyone looking for us will find a nice debris field over Novara V. Did you include fake teeth and hair for realism? No, but I broadcast a farewell playlist of your terrible jazz collection. It should confuse them long enough. Truly the most painful deception. They'd been running for weeks now, skimming asteroid belts, disrupting arms trades, faking reports from non-existent patrol units. Ilari's old command hadn't caught up to her, but they'd gotten close. Too close. Leon had stopped asking if she wanted to turn back. She didn't, and he hadn't even wanted to say goodbye since Enric's Prime. He flopped into the co-pilot chair. So, we're ghosts now, space myths, the ears and the idiot. She didn't smile, but he caught the faintest upward twitch in her expression. I prefer specters of uncertain allegiance. Kip chimed in. I ran a poll. That name ranked just above Cosmic Disaster Couple. Ilari pulled up a new star map. There's a relay station in the next system, uninhabited. If we install our decoy beacon there, we can reroute any trackers. After that, quiet space. Leon leaned back. I forgot what quiet sounds like. You'll hate it in 2 days. I'll hate it in 2 hours. He stared at her while she pretended not to notice. The edge in her shoulders was gone, replaced by something softer but wary. The kind of peace you didn't trust yet. He didn't push. She was still learning how to exist without an objective. And he was learning how to stay without making it feel like a trap. Later, as they hovered over the dead relay station, Ilari took him on an EVA walk to install the decoy. Their suits shimmered faintly against the starfield, tethered together with a magnetic filament. This is the part where something explodes, isn't it? He said. No explosions today, maybe tomorrow. They floated in silence for a moment, staring at the blue giant star in the distance. Then she spoke. Glavin don't form attachments, not like humans. We pair for function, for legacy. We don't bond. Sounds efficient, cold. But efficient. But I think I bonded anyway. He looked at her. You saying you're broken? No, she said. I'm saying I might finally work. He didn't respond. He didn't have to. When they returned to the ship, Kip greeted them with a dramatic monologue about electrical failure, which turned out to be an unplugged kettle. Leon nearly kissed the floor. Ilari recharged the ship's cloak node. Normal chaos resumed. They charted a new course, somewhere deep and nameless, where stars were born in silence. That night, over a dinner that could legally be classified as a mistake, Leon cleared his throat. Do you regret it? Which part? All of it leaving. Running me. She set down her fork. No. He waited. She didn't add more. It was her way. Kip floated between them, holding a makeshift flag that read emotional honesty detected. They both ignored it. Weeks passed. Then months. Their names vanished from wanted lists or became stories people told in seedy bars. The Terran and the Glavin, stealing fleets, blowing up weapons, dancing between stars. They never confirmed or denied the rumors. Let the galaxy guess. They started helping others, quietly, a slipstream beacon here, a refugee ship guided through minefields there, a sabotage plan leaked to resistance cells,